Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are dedicating the entire list to a single manufacturer, and not just any manufacturer. Today belongs entirely to Rolex. 5 references, each one an icon in its own right, each one carrying a weight of history, cultural significance, and horological credibility that no amount of marketing could manufacture artificially. These are watches that have earned their reputations across decades of real-world use, genuine innovation, and a consistency of quality that the rest of the industry has spent generations attempting to replicate. From the tennis courts of Wimbledon to the cockpits of transatlantic aviation, from the ocean floor to the racing circuits of the world, this is Rolex at its most compelling. Let's get into it. Number 5. Rolex Datejust 41. Wimbledon. The Rolex Datejust 41. Wimbledon is the watch that proves a dial can tell a story so completely that every other design decision simply falls into place around it. Named for its association with the most prestigious tennis tournament on Earth, a partnership that has seen Rolex serve as the official timekeeper of Wimbledon since 1978, the Wimbledon dial is immediately and unmistakably distinctive. The slate gray background, patterned with a subtle Roman numeral motif, creates a textured, layered depth that shifts under changing light, with a complexity that rewards extended study, while the green and white color-tipped hour markers and hands deliver a quiet, confident nod to the grass courts of the All England Club without ever crossing the line into the decorative or the obvious. The 41mm oyster case in oyster steel is paired with the Jubilee bracelet, one of the finest bracelets Rolex produces, whose 5-piece links drape across the wrist with a fluidity and precision that speaks directly to the quality of the steel and the machinery used to shape it. Number 4. Rolex GMT Master II Sprite. The Rolex GMT Master II Sprite is the newest and most visually striking addition to the GMT Master family, and its arrival in 2023 immediately generated the kind of collector response that confirms Rolex still has the ability to surprise an industry that thought it had mapped every move the crown would make. The Sprite takes its name from the vivid green and black two-tone ceramic Skyrocket bezel that distinguishes it from every other GMT Master reference in the current lineup. A color combination so clean and so immediately compelling that it rewards the risk Rolex took in introducing it. Presented on a Jubilee bracelet in oyster steel and wearing a black dial with applied yellow gold hour markers and Mercedes hands, the contrast between the warm gold tones of the dial furniture and the cool, vivid green of the bezel is a combination that manages to feel both technically precise and genuinely joyful at the same time, a balance that very few watches at any price achieve convincingly. The GMT function itself, a red-tipped fourth hand rotating once per 24 hours, readable against the bidirectional bezel, allows simultaneous tracking of 2 time zones with an ease and accuracy that pilots, frequent travelers, and business people operating across international time differences have depended upon since Rolex introduced the GMT Master in 1954 for Pan Am's transatlantic cruise. Number 3. Rolex Submariner Date Me 661 LV. The Rolex Submariner Date 661 LV, known universally in the collecting world as the Kermit, or more precisely in its current generation as the Starbucks, for the green dial and black bezel combination that distinguishes it from the classic black-on-black reference, is one of the most immediately recognizable and persistently desirable watches Rolex has ever produced. The Submariner needs no introduction to anyone even tangentially connected to the watch world. It is the dive watch against which every other dive watch is measured, the reference that has defined the category since its introduction in 1953, and has never relinquished that position for a single moment in the 7 decades since. The 41mm oyster case in oyster steel wears with the physical authority the Submariner has always commanded, and the combination of the vivid green sunburst dial with its applied white gold hour markers, gleaming against the deep chromatic background with extraordinary vividness, and the matte black unidirectional ceramic Serichrome bezel creates a visual contrast that is as compelling in person today as it was when Rolex first introduced the green dial Submariner in 2003. To mark the model's 50th anniversary, water-resistant to 300 meters with a screw-down crown and triplock system, the Submariner Date 12661 LV is a professional diving instrument certified to depths that the overwhelming majority of its owners will never visit, and that engineering margin is precisely the point. Number 2. Rolex Daytona 16500 LN. The Rolex Daytona 1166500LN is the most coveted production watch on Earth, and saying that out loud still does not fully communicate what it means in practice, which is that there are waiting lists measured not in months but in years, auction results that consistently dwarf retail prices by extraordinary margins, and a cultural weight that has accumulated across 6 decades of motorsport history, Hollywood iconography, and horological excellence that no other chronograph reference has come close to matching. The current 16500LN, introduced in 2016 with the addition of a black or white ceramic bezel that immediately elevated an already legendary reference into something even more visually commanding, presents the Daytona in what many collectors consider its definitive form. The white panda dial, with its 3 black chronograph registers, its red Daytona lettering, and its tachymeter scale laser engraved into the black Skyrocket bezel, is one of the great dial compositions in watchmaking history. A layout of such considered balance that it has been studied, referenced, and imitated more than any other chronograph face ever produced. The black dial variant makes an entirely different and equally compelling argument, darker, more aggressive, more nocturnal in character. And choosing between the two is a genuinely difficult conversation that every prospective buyer must eventually have with themselves. Number 1. Rolex GMT Master II takes the undisputed top position on today's list. And in the landscape of modern Rolex collecting, that is a statement that requires very little defense and a great deal of appreciation. The Pepsi GMT Master is the reference that every serious Rolex collector thinks about, the watch that threads together aviation heritage, design perfection, technical brilliance, and cultural resonance into a single package so completely resolved that every element feels not merely correct but inevitable. The red and blue two-tone ceramic Syrochrome bezel, reintroduced on a steel case in 2018 after decades of being reserved for precious metal references, a decision that generated perhaps the single most explosive response to any Rolex product announcement in recent memory, is the defining visual element. Its vivid chromatic division between the AM blue and PM red halves of the 24-hour scale, communicating the watch's dual time zone function with a clarity and beauty that no monochromatic bezel can approach. The 40mm oyster case in oyster steel wears with the precise physical authority that Rolex has spent 7 decades refining in this reference. And the Jubilee bracelet, reintroduced alongside the ceramic bezel in 2018 and an immediate source of widespread collector enthusiasm, drapes across the wrist with a fluidity and elegance that perfectly balances the watch's sporting character with a refinement that suits formal settings as convincingly as casual ones.